don't know about you, but sometimes I think life just feels like an ever-growing list of things I wanted to do, even on a daily basis. Things I wanted to do before it got too hot, or before it got too cold, before it got too dark, before I got too old. Over time, we add things to our bucket list or our wish list or whatever name we choose until it becomes a long and, frankly, unrealistic list. Then things gradually begin to drop off the list. Sometimes because our personal desires change, sometimes because we get a little wiser and no longer value the things that are on the list as we once did. But sometimes they disappear from the list because we ran out of time. And that's the worst possible reason. Owning a Colt Python has been a staple on many a bucket list. Several people I know and scores of people I don't know. Even me, until I acquired a mint vintage Python some years back. But those vintage Pythons are not growing in number, and most people that have them aren't selling them. And when they do, they fetch big prices. But a few years ago, Colt breathed new hope into many hearts when they reintroduced the Python to the market. Thanks, I think, to its prominence in the TV show The Walking Dead, the 6-inch stainless steel Colt Python reemerged on the market to basically guaranteed success. But many people were still holdouts, hoping that a blued version of the gun would be forthcoming, and I'll count myself among them, even though I have no dislike for the stainless steel. The heritage of that blued gun runs as deep as the finish itself seems to when you see it up close and personal. And now, Colt's making and selling the beloved Python once again as a blued gun. And I was pleased to get a loaner of this 4-inch 357 Magnum 6-shooter to test and review. So let's get to it. So being at the range today with the new Colt Python, the new blued Colt Python, 4-inch barrel, 4 1/4 to be precise, really brings a smile to my face. So these will be my very first shots, and I'm just going to break it in as I go around my array of targets downrange. Those are TA targets, of course. And I'm shooting 357 Magnum, and I'll probably shoot some 38 Special along the way. Get an idea where the sights are, because I missed that target completely. Okay, so... all right. Looks like I'm about 6 or 8 inches high. Well, that one didn't. All right. Okay, bear with me a second while I figure out where my sights are. Let me try one of those difficult plates in the back. This is a gun that I've been looking forward to getting my hands on for quite a while. I mean, literally ever since it was announced. It was out in stainless first and stayed that way for a while, and now finally it's available in blued. I am the owner of a 1975 Colt Python, and it is blued, and it is a 6-inch barrel. And I thought about, for this review, just jumping right into a comparison, you know, 1975 versus 2024. And then I thought, nah, that's probably gonna just confuse the issue a little bit. I wanna evaluate this gun on its own. Obviously, I'm not going to ignore the heritage. That's a huge factor, but I don't want to do a direct comparison yet. I will come back with a part 2. But for today at the range, and for the sake of this initial review in this video, it's going to be just looking at this gun on its own merit with reflections of the past and thinking about its legacy and its lineage.
And speaking of legacy and lineage of the Python, what it was most famous for was the smoothness of its action. The wonderful trigger, the way the hammer felt when you drew it back, when you thumb cocked it. So basically just, to say the action in general was what it was most known for. But beyond that, when you got past just that, which was phenomenal, then you got into the fact that it was a well-balanced gun. It felt good in the hand. It was accurate. That's what I'm looking for in this gun, for it to be a true new version of the classic Python. I'm looking for that action to feel really, really nice, and I'm looking for it to be an accurate gun. So, back to the targets downrange. I'm going to go single action for a little bit, speaking of the action, because I really want to feel that. And I also want to concentrate on my accuracy here a little bit. You can see why. All right, let's go back to the easy target.
The new blued Pythons are available as 4-inch or 6-inch models. The 4-inch model you see in this review is actually a 4 1/4-inch barrel with a 1 in 14 left-hand twist. The overall length of the gun is 9.75 inches and it weighs an even 42 ounces. I measured the trigger pull prior to the range work as 9 pounds 15 ounces for the double action and the single action at 5 pounds 9 ounces.
All right, just for fun, I'm going to try 6 rounds of 38 Special. That same target without cleaning it up. Man, that feels like a powder puff.
The 4-inch Python, with its ribbed barrel housing and its full ejector shroud, has a striking profile that looks like an iconic duty revolver. The bluing is deep and beautiful. I've examined this gun carefully under various light, and I can't find a single visual flaw anywhere. From the perfectly smooth finish and the crisp roll marks, all the way to the perfect seam at the butt where the two wood stocks meet.
I'm going to stick with the 38 Special for a minute here because it's fun. It's fun. That's the thing about a 357 Magnum, right, is you can shoot 38 Special through it, and it is like a little pop gun by comparison. Okay, back to 357. Okay, I made a sight adjustment. That looks like pretty much where I want to be.
And as I said, I was going to review this new Python on its own merits, acknowledging the lineage, but not directly comparing to it.
So standing totally on its own with no direct reference to the past, I really like the feel of the gun in general, and I like the feel of the action. The trigger feels really nice. It feels very smooth. You probably can tell when I'm shooting that it's easy to index. So it's easy to pull the trigger part way, rotate the cylinder to the next round, and then sort of pause, right? Make sure you've got the sight picture you want, and then go ahead and finish that trigger pull. It's easy to index in that way. That's a good thing. I like that in a revolver. Once I made an adjustment to the sight, I've got it pretty much right where I want it. If I was really going to fine tune it, for super accuracy, I would spend a little bit more time on it. But for shooting steel down range at this distance, between 13 and 15, 16 yards, perfectly good. Feels great in the hand. I like the wood grips. The wood grips feel nice, even with full house 357. The weight and the balance of this gun handles the round really well. It doesn't feel the least bit punishing to shoot 357. I could shoot it pretty much all day with this gun. There's enough weight here to handle it, and the ergonomics of the grip really help you manage it well. The ejection rod and the star have been a little sticky when I eject my empty cases. And that's been kind of consistent throughout the day at the range. Started kind of right off the bat, and then I did make sure everything was well oiled before I brought it out. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think when I look at the rod, the ejector rod, and I spin it, it's got a little of this going on. It's a little eccentric. So there could be, if it's got a slight bend to it, it could just be a matter of which way it's positioned when I'm trying to eject. And that extra friction could be causing that problem. Otherwise, I have had absolutely no issues whatsoever. It's been performing really well today. I've got about, let's see, 100, I'm about 125 rounds or so through it at this point, which is certainly enough with a revolver to start to really make an opinion. One of the criticisms of the early Pythons was that they were a little bit on the fragile side, and my 1975 Python, clearly I don't bring out to the range very often. When I do, I handle it with kid gloves, and I usually shoot a lot more 38 through it than I do 357 because it's an old heirloom gun and I want to preserve it. This one, being a 2024 modern built Python, my expectation is that it should be able to handle everything, and I should be able to just shoot it and have a great time with it and not worry about, you know, preserving its delicate quality.
And based on that, I give it 2 huge thumbs up. When you have the names Colt and Python to live up to, the pressure's really on. And it looks and feels to me like the folks at Colt really met the challenge here. Okay, but what could be better? Well, for starters, the eccentric ejection rod that I spoke of briefly at the range, that's obviously unique to this particular model, I think, and it's really not a big issue, but it does sometimes interfere with the function. The single action trigger could be a tad lighter. Something around 4 pounds would be incredible, but lawyers and liability concerns are probably the reason for that. In short, this new blued Python is a remarkable revolver. If there had never been a previous Python, this one would still be destined to be a classic. Production stopped on the original Python 20 years ago, and who knows if it'll stop again. If I wanted my grandson or great-grandson to own a Python, I think I'd buy it for him now. And if the Colt Python is still on that list that we talked about at the beginning, I see no reason why this new one can't fill a bill. Full disclosure, I don't own this gun. I was provided it as a loaner for review, and I don't get to keep it unless I want to buy it. I do want to do a head-to-head comparison between my 1975 Python and this new one. I haven't even set them next to each other yet because I didn't want to contaminate my perspective. But I will do that, and that will come pretty soon. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have questions, I'll try to answer those too. You can really support the channel and help me keep content flowing just by hitting like and being a subscriber. I'm on Patreon too, if you want to support me that way. And look down in this description and you'll see several discount codes and affiliate links. You can save significant money on really good products that I use and recommend. And this is just an opinion. Thanks for watching.